Very good afternoon to you all. So we have respected Chirag sir, we have Gunjita Kashyap ma'am, Vidhi and Vandita, students from ISBF. And today in this session, we are going to talk about how's the life at ISBF, how the life at ISBF can give you international exposure. Let me brief you about Chirag Mehta sir. So Chirag Mehta sir obtained his bachelor's degree in economic honors at St. Stephen's College, University of Delhi, following which he completed a master's degree in economics at the London School of Economics and Political Science, about which you all are going to know about today. Thereafter, he worked as an investment banker for 2 years with HSBC London. Before returning to India and taking up a career in the education sector, he has also worked as a passionate educationist and has taught various courses with in economics to several batches at ISBF. He has also been actively associated with the student outreach initiatives in the past, conducting several sessions in schools and colleges across the country. I welcome you, sir, on this platform, and it's an honor for me to host the session for you. And please, sir, go ahead. Please tell us something about yourself and the ISBF.
That's very kind of you, Ankur. Thank you so much for that introduction. And we are very grateful, in fact, to Hitbullseye for this opportunity and to be part of your webinar. Thank you very much for that. What we'll focus on today is really the international exposure that we can provide students with through ISBF. It is a very, very unique set of programs and a very unique, I'd say, college experience that we provide at ISBF for students. And we're very proud and happy to have two of our students with us on the call today, Vidhi and Vandita, who are both exceptional kids. They're involved in college life in just so many ways. Good academically, good all round. Vandita is the president of our student council, of our core council. Also the student council. Vidhi is a member of the student council. She is treasurer, and they've just contributed so much to college life over the years. So what we'll do is I'll start the session, share a PPT very soon, and talk you guys through the three-way association between LSE, University of London, and ISBF, which is what really makes this program what it is and leads to a very large number of unique, mostly international opportunities, although it's still very, very strong in the Indian context also. And then I'll also tell you a little bit about the academic aspect and co-curricular aspect of life at ISBF. And then Vidhi and Vandita will weigh in with their opinions on, with their views on their perspectives on as students, and also tell you a lot more about student life. So we'll split the presentation itself up into sort of two parts. You'll enjoy, I promise you'll enjoy hearing Vidhi and Vandita much more than you enjoy hearing me. So I'll keep my piece short, and then we'll take questions, depending on
so all the students who are attending this session, please feel free to ask your doubts. I am constantly monitoring over the comment section. So whatever your doubts you have, please comment down in the chat section. Okay, guys? So Chirag sir has already started the PPT. Please pay attention to it.
Super. Thanks, Ankur. So this is actually the first slide. So international exposure with ISBF. ISBF was set up in 2006 precisely with the vision to provide a world-class education in India. Our director, who is himself an alumnus of University of Warwick and LSE, and then went on to do a PhD at the University of Delhi in finance, he saw the chalk and cheese, the really large gap, the large difference between the best that the world has to offer in higher education and the best that India had to offer. This is 15 years ago. One could argue that the gap has narrowed a little bit since then, but in absolute terms, the gap is still very, very large. I can say that from my own experience. Ankur has introduced my background. I've done my undergraduate studies from India and my postgraduate studies from the UK, and have been now teaching the LSE curriculum, or been involved with teaching the LSE curriculum for over 8 years. And the chalk and cheese is still very, 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 very true. And the gap is still very, very large. And hopefully what I go on to, and that is why we're very proud of what we do. We try and provide students with access to that world-class education without having to leave the country for whatever reason, if emotional, financial, circumstantial. So many students are not prepared to go abroad for undergraduate study. Most students from India, in fact, 80% of Indian students who go abroad to study, go abroad for a master's. So that tells you, that most people want to stay back in India for an undergrad. And ISBF, while we do offer postgraduate programs, our sort of core offering is the undergraduate programs, and that is what we exist to provide, to close that gap, to provide a world-class undergraduate education in India. And as you can see, we're very proud, very fortunate to have been associated with LSE and University of London. These are two massive names in the world of higher education. We've been very proud to be associated with them from the outset. So 15 years now. And on the back of our work with LSE and University of London, we've now forged a tie-up with Kingston University London, which also has a globally eminent business school. And the business school is what we are working with to offer a different kind of program. So I'll talk about these in a little more detail. So let me talk about the LSE programs first. There are three salient points, three very important structural aspects to understand about the LSE programs. Every student on that program studies the same curriculum as a student at LSE. There is no difference between the curriculum. And this all comes from the fact, if I go back to the logo, in fact, you'll see there's ISBF, there's University of London, and it says awarding body above it. And there's London School of Economics and Political Science, which we call LSE, and academic direction above it. So all
the students
academic
sometimes
direction.
get confused with this, sir. Like which
Absolutely.
degree we'll be getting, who will be mentoring us. Yes, sir.
Correct. So the British are champions at confusing the world. Their terminology is horrible. They come up with the longest, most convoluted ways to say things. But so that is why we're doing this, to kind of break it down.
Yes.
LSE, when we say provides academic direction, it means everything academic for an ISBF student except for the teaching comes from LSE. You can take that one line away, and that tells you everything about academic. That includes designing the program, writing the curriculum, updating the curriculum with the latest research. Very importantly, setting the exam papers, the final exam papers, and also the courseworks, and grading the final exam and coursework. That's the second point I was going to make, that there is also, aside from complete parity of curriculum, there is also complete parity of assessment standards between ISBF and LSE. Because the assessment, the final assessment, is the basis of the degree award. And the degree is where LSE and University of London put their name and their reputation at stake. So they cannot afford any difference in the quality of assessment. This is extremely rare in the world of higher education. I say rare, and I'm not saying there is no other such program, only because, you should never assume you know everything. But I've been in the sector 10 years, and I would challenge anybody to find me any other international program that has such a deep collaboration at its heart, where the international partner is grading every single script. It just doesn't happen, right? And these two things make it truly a London School of Economics education that a student receives. And and that comes with all its perks and benefits for life. LSE is ranked, the programs we teach at ISBF are broadly in the areas of economics, management, and finance. LSE, as you see from the last bullet on my slide, is ranked 5th for eco, 4th for accounting and finance, and 10th for business and management. So no matter what program you choose to study at the undergraduate level at ISBF, among the LSE programs, you are pursuing a global top 10 undergraduate education. There is just no other way to look at that, right? And to top all of that off, every ISBF student receives a University of London degree. This is the University of London degree, not just any. There is only one type of University of London degree, and it doesn't matter whether a student is studying in London or in Nairobi or in New Delhi, they get the same degree. And that is the University of London degree, which is globally recognized and valued for what it stands for, right? And the whole point of offering this whole program in India, from LSE and University of London's point of view, they're widening access to their wonderful education. From ISBF's point of view, we are lowering the costs of accessing that education without compromising on the quality. So one can receive basically an LSE education and a University of London degree all at 1/4 of the cost of doing it in London, right? That is, in a nutshell, the LSE programs. This is what the degree looks like. On the right hand side, you have a copy of it's obviously a redacted copy of the degree. It's, as I said, the University of London degree. It also mentions LSE as the examining body, which makes it equivalent to an LSE degree itself. And I've kind of zoomed in on the text on the left hand side, that image. So I don't want to dwell on this too much, but this is a huge opportunity. So the reason this happens is because so ISBF is the college. LSE and University of London are the dual sort of university. LSE does all the academic work. University of London does all the administrative work. And that is why the programs of the University of London is like the president of India. Everything happens in its name, right? It does very little on the program, but everything happens in its name. LSE is like the prime minister, right? And ISBF is like the chief minister. It's a really, really strange analogy. I've just cooked it up, but hopefully kind of it helps you put things in perspective. Maybe a better way to think about it is if you're familiar with something like a University of Delhi. So University of London is the equivalent of University of Delhi. LSE is the equivalent of the Department of Economics within the University of Delhi, which does all the academic work. And ISBF is the equivalent of any college in Delhi University, like a St. Stephen's College or an SRCC or an LSR or whatever it may be, right? Those are the roles.
Sanvi, sorry to interrupt, sir. So Sanvi is asking, so we can pursue our post-graduation in London or in ISBF itself after the bachelor's degree?
So both are options, Ankur. ISBF does not offer a full-fledged postgraduate master's program. We offer a one-year graduate diploma. So typically our students will go on to postgraduate study elsewhere. If you've done an ISBF undergrad, you have a huge advantage when applying for a master's abroad. I'll come to that and I'll answer that question quite fully on a slide. But I just wanted to say one last thing here. So every ISBF student is a full-fledged University of London student. So ISBF is the college, UL is the university. That's why the University of London degree. And in fact, not just the degree, you're invited to, every graduate is invited to attend the convocation, the graduation ceremony in London. It's a massive, overwhelming ceremony. I have a picture a little bit later. I'll show it you then. I'm trying to find my phone so I can keep track of time. Vidhi, Vandita, one of you mind telling me what the time is, or Ankur?
4:13 it is.
4:13, okay. I'll give myself another 7-8 minutes. These are the 5 programs that we offer at the undergraduate level with LSE. As I said, the domains are eco management and finance, but those are the combinations. Some of them are very unique in the Indian context because these are UK programs. And the BSc honors you see there is because that's the terminology that LSE uses. Don't worry about BSc versus BA. In fact, if anything, BSc is more quantitative than BA, which is a huge advantage in today's world. Because everything is digitizing or there's data everywhere. So everybody has to have some level of numeracy. So there's eco finance, for which math up to class 12 is compulsory, just in order to be eligible to apply. And the other 3 programs, eco management, business management, and accounting finance, you don't need math beyond class 10 necessarily. If you have it, I think it's a bit of an advantage. There is, however, no other stream or subject related eligibility criteria. It does not matter whether you did economics in class 10 or 12 or psychology or humanities with what subjects, as long as the only criteria for eligibility is related to math, right?
So sir, do the students have to give any kind of entrance exam as well, or just 12th class will be the merit?
Yes. So let me jump to that and I will come back to this. So this is the admission process for the LSE programs. It's a 3-step process. You apply, you write a test online, and you appear for an interview, which is currently also online, of course. These are actually extremely important. As you can see from the bottom part of my slide, the selection criteria, 80% of it is based on the internal test and interview. Only count for 20% of the total selection criteria, because we are looking for a very specific set of skills suited to the LSE curriculum, which most Indian boards especially don't tell us much about, right? And very importantly, it's rolling admissions. There are different rounds that are declared, and only 120 seats across the 5 undergraduate programs. So the sooner you apply, all other things equal, the likelier you are to get in, the likelier you are to get into a program of your choice, and the likelier you are to get a scholarship to study at ISBF. All of these things, as more and more seats fill up, more and more scholarships get taken up, fewer are left, and so it's more competitive. So that is the process for the Kingston University program that I will come to later on. It's a 2-step process. You apply, and if you're shortlisted, then you're invited for an interview, and there is no test involved here.
So one more question from Atarya Chakrabarti. Does ISBF accept SAT score, SAT scores?
Yes, we do accept SAT scores. It is not a compulsory document on our application, but it is a recommended document. And in fact, if a student has 1350 or more, 1350 is roughly the 90th percentile score on SAT worldwide. If a student has a 1350 or more, then you're exempted from this middle step, which is the test. And you score very high on that 50%, basically, because you've kind of done even better than what a good score on our test would have indicated to us, right?
Perfect, sir.
Sorry about that. Okay, I found my phone as a result of that. So now I know the time. Okay, super. So I'm going back to where I was.
Programs.
I must point out, that the accounting, so these are UK programs and terminology is UK based. So I'll tell you very loosely, this is a bad comparison because these programs in terms of quality and rigor and pedigree are way ahead of anything in India. But just because we all live in India and, we are familiar with things in India, I'll tell you the most loosely comparable Indian program. So you can think of it in the same ballpark. Eco honors is of course comparable with eco honors. Eco finance doesn't really have too many parallels in India. Eco management can very loosely be compared with a BBE, a bachelor's in business economics. Business and management can very loosely be compared with a BBA, a bachelor of business administration. And accounting and finance can loosely be compared with a BCom, which is bachelor of commerce. However, most people do BCom for a career in finance. The irony is BCom is a commerce and accounting degree. There is no finance in BCom. So accounting and finance is a fantastic pathway to finance because both accounting and finance are obviously relevant for finance. Very importantly, accounting and finance students at ISBF enjoy exemptions for 8 out of 13 exams needed to qualify for the ACCA, which is the global equivalent of CA. It's a very coveted qualification today. So by the time an ISBF student graduates on the accounting finance program, they will not only have a University of London degree, but if they work just a little bit harder, they could also be fully ACCA qualified at the age of 21, which is huge. There are probably 2 or 3 places in the country where you can do this as of today, and none of them are along with the University of London degree anyway. Anyhow, so that is the structure of the program, right? Now, if you understand the structure, you will probably understand the next bit quite easily. What are the opportunities that it unlocks? Because you are receiving an LSE education and a University of London degree, even just after 1 year, you're good enough to transfer to top foreign universities. ISBF has, in the last 7 to 8 years, the best transfer track record to LSE for any institution in the world, not in India, in the world, right? More ISBF students have gone to LSE on a second year transfer than from anywhere else. A second year transfer simply means you finish first year at ISBF and then you start second year at LSE and complete your undergrad at LSE. And it means the same thing for the other colleges as well. Students have gone on to every top UK university that accepts transfers: Edinburgh, King's, Bristol, Bath, St Andrews, etc. Students have got offers from UBC Canada, Hong Kong University, Carnegie Mellon in the US, and many more whose names are not even here. There's a fuller list on our website. For the same reason, and this is to complete my answer to your earlier question, Ankur, that for the same reason, the fact that they have an LSE education behind them now 3 years when they graduate, ISBF students have a strong edge, a substantial edge for a prestigious master's program abroad. I say this with utmost certainty and from my own experience. As Ankur said, I completed my undergraduate degree from St. Stephen's College, Delhi University. I had a first class honors, which is the highest classification you can get. My roommate, I add him to the story because first class में भी बहुत सारा range होता है. मेरे कुछ 72, 73 थे, उसके 84 थे. So he was Delhi University topper. Both of us applied to LSE for a 1-year master's in economics. Both of us got rejected. What we got accepted was actually, we got accepted onto a 2-year program. So I did a 2-year MSc in economics at LSE. The first year of which was spent studying with second-year undergrads at LSE. So I was basically studying what Vidhi and Vandita studied in their second year. They studied it after 1 year.
This also happens in the PhD program as well. So the PhD students, they have to complete their credits. So they study with the MTech first year students as well.
Right. Very good.
Also, yeah.
Because it's just the same chalk and cheese playing out at every level, the Indian undergraduate rigor is not good enough to start a UK program, a UK master's program, as simple as that, right? Whereas the flip side of the story is, I'm cutting my own story short because we also got into second year at Cambridge. So even Cambridge thought we were only good enough for undergrad second year after completing our full undergrad here. But the beauty is that an ISBF student will never even apply for a 2-year master's. In fact, I know at least 7 or 8 of my students have gone on to the 1-year MSc economics program at LSE. 2 of them have gone on a full scholarship each. That scholarship is given to 2 students in the world every year. For one institution to bag it 2 years in a row is really no joke. I'm talking about a program on the one hand where supposedly, graduates from one of India's top universities for eco are getting rejected. And on the other hand, graduates from another institution are getting full scholarships to study that program. If that doesn't tell you the chalk and cheese, I'm not sure what will. And it's not LSE in isolation. There's Harvard, Oxford, Yale, NYU, NUS, Columbia, Chicago.
These are the big
Everybody.
brands which every student dreams of. Yeah, I should get these tags. So
Yeah,
getting a
yeah.
tag of
And
Oxford, London
that's the
University
thing. That's the
definitely
thing that,
works out.
everybody understands the value of an LSE education and a University of London degree. Once you cross the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea, very few people understand University of Delhi, right? Or the Bay of Bengal for that matter. So I'm using DU just as a comparison point from personal experience. Of course, DU is good for many reasons. It's not as great as people make it out to be. That's a conversation for another day. These are the two sisters I was talking about. I didn't say earlier on they're actually real sisters. One of them is now teaching at ISBF. She went on to complete the masters and is joined ISBF as a junior professor, and many other opportunities. ISBF today is actually one of LSE's top 5 teaching institutions in the world. There are more than 70. This is what LSE has put on their website formally. Top 5. I know from conversations with them, we are actually among their top 2 in the world. But anyway, that doesn't matter. Top 5 is good enough for us, and that's because our students have done exceptionally well year after year after year. We just finished our award ceremony. In 1 year, we've had 43 awards come our way from LSE, which is, historic, really. There's also the LSE Summer School Scholarship. 2 students from ISBF get an LSE Summer School Scholarship every year. This is again because only 4 or 5 institutions in the world have this privilege, and we have it because of being in the top echelons of this ecosystem. I mentioned the awards and prizes. I mentioned the graduation ceremony. All unique opportunities. Students have gone on to master's programs within India at the best of colleges: IIM, ISB, XLRI, ISI, Delhi School of Economics, etc. And on the placement, summer internship, and international placement front, there is a dedicated careers team that looks after students. They start upskilling them from very early on. We used to do it from second year onwards. We've now started from the second half of first year itself. So upskilling is beginning for first years as I speak. And they will get placed in summer internships. These are places they've gone to: UNDP, KPMG, Ernst & Young, OYO Rooms, etc. And they will go on to, students have gone on to work for companies like McKinsey, Bain, Ernst & Young, Deloitte, KPMG, etc. And they've also gone on to work for a year with large investment banks like HSBC, Morgan Stanley, UBS in London or New York. So these are all fantastic opportunities that they've been able to avail. More details on our website. I will move on in the interest of time. That's a
Pretty
picture
sure
of the
Vidhi and
graduation ceremony.
Vandita must be thrilled to get these kind of opportunities.
I'm not sure if she's going for a master's or going for a job. Either way, hopefully the degree will, live up to its full potential for her and for Vidhi. That's a picture of the graduation ceremony.
Sir, before proceeding further, we have
Sure.
2-3 more questions.
Sure.
So Bharti is asking, is any of these college for pursuing law? I guess don't, right?
So a lot of the international colleges I spoke about offer law, Ankur, but ISBF is not the right platform if someone's looking for law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. One student is asking, University of London degree is recognized for IIM in India as qualification and for government jobs. So basically, they are asking ki if we get a degree from University of London or LSE, so will we get the same opportunities as a student from IIM gets after BBA?
As a student from IIM gets?
IIM, yes, IIM from. So IIM have their integrated program, IP
So
MAT.
that will be a 5-year program where you graduate with a BBA and an MBA. So if many ISBF students have gone on to IIM. So if you do follow the same track, you do ISBF, then go to IIM, then you'll have exactly the same opportunities. Absolutely. It's not fair to compare an undergrad with a master's. So an ISBF undergrad will not have the same opportunities as an IIM MBA maybe. Because obviously,
even though it's BSc, but finance and management will be the main curriculum, and the similar for the BBA as well. So over there also they learn about the finance and management itself.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's a great. All of our programs are actually an excellent base for an MBA, because an MBA is economics, management, finance.
Yeah.
Broadly, you throw in, if you want to throw in 2 more things, it's accounting and business, which is also what we teach. So it is very
the nomenclature is different. They call it BBA and BSc.
Correct. Absolutely. So about the recognition for government jobs. So, unfortunately, India is one of the only countries in the world. So the University of London programs are offered in, I think, 150 plus countries. India is the only country, or certainly the only major country, where the government has not figured out figured out a way to recognize it yet. It exists in a regulatory vacuum. It is not unrecognized, but it is not recognized because nobody regulates us. UGC is supposed to regulate Indian degree awarding bodies. We are not a degree awarding body. Our degree awarding body is University of London, which is in the UK. So UGC के का काम नहीं है हमें regulate करना. Similarly, AICT doesn't regulate undergraduate programs. So it exists in a regulatory vacuum. So anybody who wants to do a government job through a competitive exam. Many of our students are working for Niti Aayog, National Institute of Public Finance and Policy, Defense Ministry, वगैरह वगैरह, based on their expertise. But if you want to write the civil services exam or some government competitive exam, then this degree does not have the equivalence needed for that. So what we do is we ask our students to also sign up for an IGNOU degree alongside. These are 10-15 students in any 3-year sort of batch set. So at the moment also some 10-12 students are pursuing the IGNOU program, which will give them the best of both worlds. It will give them a piece of paper which will take care of eligibility within India, and globally to matlab this is way, head and shoulders ahead of anything on offer in India anyway. So that is how it works at the moment, Ankur.
One question I want to ask from Vandita. So Sanvi is asking, what are my chances to get into ISBF? I'm an average student in academics though, but I'm good at public speaking and some other skills. How much the written test is important? If I'm not able to give it, like if I'm not able to qualify it with some good scores, will I be able to get into ISBF?
Hi, Sanvi. So to answer your question, the first thing that I really want to focus on is that at ISBF, what is given more importance is your ability to learn more than your your marks, right? There's something that can be quantified, but as much as some focus is given to that, the most focus is given on your ability. How much can you grasp? How much can you learn? And how much are you willing to grow? So your willingness to learn and move forward is something that is given utmost value at ISBF. And trust me, when I walked into ISBF, I thought I was a very average student. But being in this curriculum for 3 years, I've actually realized that there are a lot of skills that I have that are actually necessary when you're pursuing foreign degrees, which are skills that you need when you're working. For example, when you're working, you should know how you're supposed to make documents. You should have some analytical abilities, which unfortunately a CBSE curriculum, it just suppresses that. You're not given any platform to come up and innovate and be creative. But here, when we have something like a plagiarism check, when we're uploading a project, they're asking you to dig deeper and find something and create something of your own, which every person is unique. So don't think of yourself that you're average in academics. You will have certain skill sets that no other student will have. And when you sit in a class and ask those questions, that's when you'll realize that, okay, yeah, I'm actually really smart, but maybe all my life, because of the curriculum that I have been in, I feel that I'm average because the benchmark is 95. But here, there is no such benchmark, right? You get a 70, that's also good enough. You get a 90, that's treated the same way as a 70. So here, that benchmarking is let go of, and everybody is given the opportunity to be themselves. And when you talk about public speaking, I'll just weigh in here that we have a lot of opportunities for ECA. I think, sir, you'll finish up your PPT and then we'll talk about ECA, and I'll talk about it then more. But we have a lot of platforms for people to showcase their other skills like public speaking, which people might think is a very small thing, but as you move forward in life, it's something that is of utmost importance. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I hope that suffices the question. Great. Okay, sir. Chirag, sir, please continue, sir.
No, so you put it wonderfully, Vandita. I couldn't have been put better. I'll add one little perspective, alternate perspective to that. I want to first actually reinforce what Vandita said, although she said it very well, that, Sanvi, if you're feeling average, do also recognize that you're, forgive me, this is a little bit direct and blunt, but you're average at an average curriculum. If you're given a fantastic curriculum, maybe you'll be fantastic at it. I've seen this happen so many times with ISBF students because our criteria is not your class 12 marks. Even if you get a 97, if you don't do well in our test and interview, 80% of your weightage will, you may not get an offer because you didn't do well in the 80%. 20% can only get you so far, right? So, and the logic there, and Vandita has hit the nail on the head. This is the most important thing. What is your ability and willingness to learn? That is really what matters. And I've seen 85, 87%ers in the boards who did excellently in the ISBF process get transfer offers to LSE, get master's offers from LSE, and not just LSE. I mean, this is just an example. LSE is not the be all and end all. There are so many good colleges in the world, but LSE is certainly one of them. They've gone on to careers in consulting, private equity, investment banking. So, I mean, why do you want to walk around with a CBSE stamp all of your life? Don't let that dictate your ability. You know your ability. And the other thing to really think about, this is a digression from my PPT, is the post-pandemic world is going to be very different from the pre-pandemic world. There's going to be a sea change in the way people work. And there are so many companies that are going to recruit people from other countries because, it's mainly work from home. If they have to fly them down for one meeting in a quarter, that's fine, doesn't matter. But at least I get the best talent available. Now, if you're competing on that sort of global playing field, think about what degree will signal your ability better. A degree that is understood in London, New York, Singapore, Dubai, Australia, New Zealand, everywhere, or a degree that is, that doesn't cross the oceans outside India, as I was saying earlier. So, these are real things to grapple with for you guys. It's a very interesting time to be a student. Also, a slightly nervous time, I can imagine. But anyway, I want to really hand it over to Vidhi and Vandita after saying a last couple of things. I must tell you about the KU program. This is a different kind of program. It is also a business management program, but it is structured in a different way. It's 2+1. The first 2 years have to be at ISBF in India. You're still studying the KU curriculum. And the last year has to be at Kingston University in London. So there is a guaranteed year of studying abroad built into the program. You move with a whole batch of friends and classmates. You get to graduate in London and launch a career in London, therefore, and you also get the 2-year post-study work visa and all of the other perks that are available to international students. And you're studying something that is, from Kingston Business School, which is a top 5% B school in the world, right? So it's a very different opportunity. And it's an opportunity that we are very proud to offer alongside the LSE programs. And the beauty is that because you're doing the first 2 years in India, the cost comes down to less than half, right? Sorry, give me 1 second.
One student was asking this question in between, it is cost effective or not? So Vidhi, you can answer on that the program is cost effective or not.
Sure, sir. Thank you. So when we talk about cost efficiency, I think one thing that you really need to balance is that what you're paying and what you're achieving, what you're receiving from the amount that you're paying. And one thing that we really need to dignify out of all of this is that the LSE degree, right? So I would give you a very straight up example. When you're staying in India, you're in Delhi and you're in ISBF, we have our hostel as well. It's all cost efficient because we know how things work in India in rupees. On the other hand, if you are to go to the UK where you'd be spending in pounds and stuff, I think it is very crystal clear there that in any case, ISBF would be more cost efficient as compared to going to LSE or going to university in London and spending there. Whereas you could save that money and put it onto your masters, just like Chirag sir did. So if we do it from ISBF, you're in your own environment where you know about things around you. And luckily you get a lot of friends and, who become part of your family who help you out in Delhi. So you know between what's cheaper and what's expensive. So in any case, this is much more cost efficient than it would be to actually go to the UK and study, which you could spend about for your masters.
And that's actually a very important question because everybody increasingly in the world looks at education as an investment and therefore you're thinking about returns on investment, which is a very sensible way to look at things. Let me paint one picture for you. If you graduate with the University of London degree and the LSE education, as I've already said, it gives you a fantastic base to get into a top college in the UK. So let's say you were to get into LSE or Warwick or Oxford or any one of these. The kind of job you're looking at after that is the kind of trajectory that nothing in India can offer you. Undergraduate, postgraduate, MBA, IIM, nothing. You're talking about a starting job. The sort of intellectual challenge of the job aside, because we've grown up in a world that measures success slightly in monetary terms, but you're going to start at a pay of 35,000-40,000 pounds per annum. Yeah, you'll also be spending in pounds, but you'll still save a hell of a lot more than what you would if you were working anywhere in India. So that's a whole different trajectory for those that understand, lines and functions and derivatives and calculus, the slope, not only is the intercept of the line higher, the slope is also greater of your career path, right? So really the last couple of things I wanted to say, we've already been through this. We spoke about admissions. I just want to emphasize rolling admissions means applying early gives you an advantage. The early round is behind us. Because of the change in the board schedule, we've squeezed in 2 more application deadlines to allow for students with different school schedules to apply if they wish to before the boards. 6th Feb and 6th March for the LSE programs and 13th March for the KU program. Scholarships are available for all of these programs, and they are for all 3 years of study and up to 100% of the ISBF tuition fee. I'll leave the scholarship piece at that. If you have any more questions, I'm happy to take them. And I'll leave Vidhi and Vandita to talk about most of student life, except just the teaching learning environment and co-curriculars are 2 things I wanted to tell you about. The beauty of learning an LSE, a top international curriculum, is that it is cutting edge and it is application oriented. You are not learning anything that is outdated, and you are not learning anything for the sake of learning it. You're learning it to be able to solve real world problems out there.
In the point of the Indian education and the foreign education comparison.
Absolutely. You have people like Nandan Nilekani, Narayan Murthy. Our IITians, our engineers are supposed to be our most employable graduates. Even among them, they say that employability is 25% are employable. If our most employable graduates are 25% employable, then what is going to happen to the future of work in this country? So the emphasis is squarely on training you to solve real world problems. There is no room for rote learning. I hope Vandita and Vidhi will back me up here, but I know that in my 5-6 years of teaching initially at ISBF, I never ever asked a student or never had to ask a student to rote learn even a line of the curriculum. Everything was about understanding it, because the exam is going to test you in some new situation anyway. So how much are you going to sort of memorize? Right? How many situations can you memorize? And of course, that means that it's a very close-knit learning community, a high teacher-student ratio, lots of innovation in the pedagogy, flipped classrooms, multidisciplinary classes, etc., etc. And that spills over into the co-curricular aspect. So we must provide students with opportunities to round off their learning. So be it the distinguished public lecture series that we run, we've had a former chief statistician of India, a former chief economic advisor to the government of India, founder and CEO of Make My Trip, GoDaddy, a member of the 15th Finance Commission. These are the kind of people who've come and spoken to our students in the last 1 year alone. There are industry visits, there are training workshops in software like Excel, Stata, R, Python, critical thinking workshops, writing workshops. So all of this helps them make that last mile sort of, get those sort of employable skills, and also a placement module where you learn career skills, how to interview, how to write an aptitude test, group discussions, how to build a good CV, how to build your LinkedIn profile, and so on and so forth. So that, and then the final aspect of this, I think, is the extracurriculars, which I am not even 100th as well placed as Vandita and Vidhi to talk about. They're leading the charge on the ECA front. They've done a wonderful job in a year that's been online. So I'll hand it over to them to tell you about the remaining aspects of student life, but also to share some student perspective on the bits that I've spoken about. So over to you guys.
Sir, before giving the panel to Vidhi and Vandita, 2-3 questions for you, sir. Sure. So one student is asking, ST Kelai Raj, out of BSc Economics and BSc Economics in Finance, what is the significant difference between both of them and the career opportunities?
Okay, super. So Kelai, if I'm getting your name right, these are actually 2 of our most similar programs, especially in terms of career paths. Because, so let me tell you the difference since you asked that. Very mechanically speaking, on the economics program, all 12 courses pertain to economics. On the economics and finance program, you study about 4 base courses, 4 courses pertaining 4 specializations in economics and 4 specializations in finance, right? So it's a dual degree structure in a sense. So in terms of which one should you do, if you have any interest in finance, you may as well do economics and finance. From a career path point of view, both leave you in a very good place. If you're not sure of finance, the eco degree will still be good enough to get you into finance. Then it's better to pursue the plain economics degree if eco is what you love at this point and finance is just one of your options. But if you like finance, pursue economics and finance.
One question is there from Pratima. How many seats are available for admissions in BSc Honors, Business and Management?
So we don't have seats by program, Pratima, because our first year courses, there's a lot of overlap across programs. So eco and like I said, eco and eco finance have the same first year. Business and management and eco and management have the same first year. So there is 120 seats across all 5 programs. So our total first year intake on the LSE programs is capped at 120. That doesn't mean we'll always fill the 120 seats, but that's the maximum we will take in.
Due to pandemic situations, a lot of exams were held from home itself. The home proctored exams were there.
Yes.
So Arsh Maheshwari is asking, the entrance test will be center based or home proctored?
It's home proctored. It's always been home proctored for us, even before the pandemic. So the entrance test is online and home proctored.
Pratima is again asking one question. For the business and management course of KU, is there any criteria of having maths in 12th grade?
No, you don't need maths in class 12. You have to, the basic eligibility for that program is, if you're doing an Indian board curriculum, is to have, I think for the KU program, it's 60% if you're an Indian central board student, 65% if you're a state board student, but that is only the eligibility to apply. That's not the selection criteria, but that's the eligibility. Yeah.
I'll roll through the questions very fast because a lot of students are commenting down and I want Vandita and Vidhi also to speak.
Yes.
So Rahul is asking, I'm studying in state board, not CBSE. Can I apply?
Absolutely. A lot of our students come from state board. Absolutely.
Is Kingston University course different from University of London degree?
Yes, it is. It is. I mean, every university brings its own flavor. You know, it's like saying, is Delhi University's program the same as Calcutta University? They're similar in many respects, but they're also different in many respects, right?
So this, I guess, you have already answered. Which to prefer, BSc Economics and Finance?
One more thing on the LSE KU difference.
Yes.
Look at the curriculum and see which one you like more. You know, don't even rely on what I say. Read the curriculum in detail. Yeah.
Which to prefer, BSc Economics and Finance or BSc Economics and Management? Again, I guess you have pretty much summarized that in the previous question.
I'll just add one thing because Economics and Management has come in here. If you like math, go with Eco and Finance. If you don't like math, go with Eco and Management.
How many seats in Kingston?
How many seats in Kingston? Kingston, we're looking at Kingston batch size will be capped at 40.
Sir, can you tell more about the AWCA Advantage one will get if he pursue BSc in Accounting and Finance?
This is beginning to feel like a Karan Johar rapid fire, but
so Sanvi, this question is again from Sanvi. She's, I guess, very much interested with ISBF.
It's wonderful to get questions. Yeah, I'm just kidding. So ACCA Sanvi is a qualification today. It's an accounting and finance qualification. It is accepted in 25 of the world's leading job markets. Most of Europe, most of the Middle East, including Dubai, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, Canada. So it gives you an advantage to work in these countries, and also in India, companies like KPMG, Deloitte, PwC, Ernst & Young, the top big four in accounting, they are spending lakhs of rupees to train fresh graduates in ACCA. Imagine if you give them a proposition where you are ACC qualified when they hire you, that money will get added to your CTC, no? What they would have spent in your training. So it gives you a massive advantage.
Then the question is from Sasank. Sir, what range placements can we expect?
So the undergraduate average package for an ISBF student is 5.5 to 6 lakhs.
Pratima is asking, will it be just based on our board exam marks and PI, the entrance test?
Sorry, could you say that again, please, Ankur?
Pratima has just written, or will it just be based on our board exam marks and PI? I guess she has left out some words before the
So she's
question.
actually written something before.
Okay, okay. For the KU program, we need to give the same entrance test as that of London University course.
Oh, okay. So for KU, we don't have an entrance, Pratima. You apply. If your application is strong, you'll be invited for an interview, and the interview is the only selection criteria.
Now, Vidhi, a question for you: that how can I prepare for the ISBF entrance exam?
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the question. So very honestly, when you apply for the ISBF interview, I will talk about my experience because I would not want to generalize it.
That's why I asked this question from you.
Right, sir. Right. So very honestly, when you're a student and you're just out of school and you're entering into the college life, everything is very stressful for you because you're trying to pick out what is the best option for you and how an interview will go, because you're going to go in front of two absolute strangers and talk about your life. and answer their questions accordingly. So what I will tell you is, when you're preparing for your interview, know yourself well, know how to market yourself well, and very honestly, be honest. Do not try to play games there, because very honestly, the interviews catch you like this, because I've been a part of one. And very honestly, Chirag sir took my interview in my first year, and I can very bluntly tell you that be honest, know yourself, and know how to market yourself well. So these are the three tips that I used, and I would recommend these three tips to whoever is getting through the ISBF interview.
Okay. Vandita, question for you. I have taken applied mathematics in +2. Will that satisfy the criteria?
Applied mathematics in +2,
Yes.
is the person in a CBSE format? Because that would just mean math
The
or
person hasn't mentioned that, but I guess that will like suffice the
Again,
requirements.
in the interest of time, because it's a technical question, most likely this is an IB student, and as so, what we're looking for is calculus, statistics, and a little bit of linear algebra. If you have that in your course, it doesn't matter what the name of your math course is, right?
Sir, Anubhuti is asking what type of questions are usually asked in personal interview. So this has become now HR round questions, sir.
Please, best if Vandita, I'll give away trade secrets. I'll let Vandita with the answer.
Yes, Vandita, please. Which kind of questions can we expect in personal interviews?
so. I mean, it's called an interview, but actually at ISBF, the point of the PI is to get to know the student a little bit better, because the IMAT has already happened and ISBF has already tested you on your abilities, your quant abilities, LR reading. In fact, you can check a sample IMAT on the website in case you want to go through the level of questions that I asked. So the interview is actually to get to know the person a little bit better. That what are you expecting out of this degree? Where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are things that you look forward to learning? And just a couple of questions to get to know the person a little bit better. So I think that, like as Vidhi said, just know yourself well, and you'll be able to answer whatever questions come in the PI.
So now let's talk about campus life. A lot of questions have been there, so I'll get to those questions later. Let's talk about campus life. So tell me something about how you, when you came up to ISBF, how was the life for you?
Vidhi, do you want to go?
Sure, I'll go ahead.
Yes,
And
please go ahead.
this will be actually very unique, and I know why Vandita pointed this out to me, and that's because I'm actually from Botswana, so I'm an international student, right? And when I came to Delhi, it was my first time, and it's a very stereotypical thing for parents that Delhi is not safe for girls, and it's not such a good place. But when you find out the kind of environment you're going into, you get much more confident, because like sir said, it's a very small knit community, so everyone, you're friends with everyone, it becomes a very small family that you're in. You're there for each other when you need each other. Like when I came to Delhi, I had never stayed in Delhi, I never knew about Delhi, but I got very good Delhi friends of mine who showed me around Delhi. I got to know many things about Delhi, I got familiar with the place. So it's all about, this place really teaches you how to make friends, how you become part of a family who help each other learn and grow. And this is not only till the students, but also including the teachers, because they hold a very important role in your growing process. And they're really there at any time that you'd want them to be out of their comfort zones. They'll always help you and always there for you. So that really summed up how ISBF life has been for me. So I just pass it on to Vandita.
So the best part about ISBF is where the campus is located, and I'm really sorry if you can hear some noise. I have some carpenter work going on at home, so I
Not an issue, not
apologize
an
for
issue.
that. But the best part about ISBF is where the campus is located. It's located in Lajpat Nagar. You can literally walk down to the Moolchand metro station, take the metro, and go anywhere. I mean, so many times we would just have like a 1 hour break between class, and we would quickly hop on the metro and go to Epicuria and Nehru Place, have a quick bite, and then be back for class. And another thing that I really want to talk about campus life is, like Vidhi's talked about the fact that she's an international student, and we have students coming in from all over the country. And people, like, some people are not comfortable speaking in Hindi, some people are not, like, their command over the English language is not that good. And people at ISBF, I mean, I don't know, like the selection criteria is something what the panel sees, but everybody respects everybody's culture a lot. Like, personally I can say like Vidhi did not know much about like the Indian culture or something like that, because she had spent so much of her time in Botswana. But here she came and people taught her about things. She didn't know Hindi that well. So it's honestly like you grow with people around you, and that only happens because everybody respects each other's culture and where they come from. And our campus is always buzzing with something. I mean, you will never find a day where there is not noise in campus. Where Chirag sir's office is, we have something called a recreational area behind it, and you'll always have like some event going on there. Like we have a very famous event that we have at ISBF, which is gully cricket. So for those 2 hours, you'll just hear people throwing the ball this way, that side. We have a TT table over there. So in between classes, when people just want to like quickly rejuvenate and they want like like you're studying and you want a quick break, you'll go, you'll bounce the ball. We have a small basketball net, then we have a TT table, then we have a foosball table, we have a pool table right in college. So it's a great way to unwind, and you can just go out, take a walk. We have a beautiful scenery around us. So where the campus is, it just sort of like brings the experience together really well. The view from our library, when you're studying, then you just look out, it just feels so nice, like sort of inspires you in some way.
Great, great, great. So Vidhi, now do you understand Hindi completely?
So, I wouldn't say completely, but then I think I can speak fairly well. Like I've stayed
Okay.
on the Delhi environment and everything, so
Let's
I
speak in
think
Hindi then.
Vandita would.
Then let's give me 2 3 sentences in Hindi.
Sure, sir. आप जो भी बोलो मैं बोलूंगी. अब तो मैं एक्सपर्ट हो गई हूँ
Nice,
हिंदी बोलने में इतने टाइम से. So
nice, nice, nice. So this kind of diversity, I believe, sir, definitely motivates a lot of students, because I feel some of the UG students, when they go for these kind of programs, they feel that we are not very much comfortable with the English language as well. So since it is kind of an international body who is awarding, who will be teaching, so they feel that we will not be that much comfortable with other students who might be studying. So people are there from some rural, some urban backgrounds. So I believe if this kind of diversity, if they are getting friends like Vandita and Vidhi, they will definitely get to a success point, right?
And
No,
we have
absolutely.
sorry,
Absolutely.
Chirag, sir,
No, no, go for it, Vandita.
and like we have a lot of other opportunities. I mean, we haven't spoken about ECA yet, but the EC opportunities that you get, we have more than 15 societies are under ISBF. And through those societies, like when people come together, for example, if you have to organize an event together, you have to sit, you have to plan, you have to execute, you need a backup plan. And when people come together from, like you said, different backgrounds and try to figure these things out, those lines or stereotypes that are there sort of get blurred, and you actually get to know the reality of things. And we have so much that happens at ECA here, be it through a debate, through like art, be it through dance, through music, through an MUN, or through community service, or through open mics, and people being given an opportunity to express themselves, be it through photography, through writing. There is so much that happens. Like you can think of one way of expression and we'll already have something around it. A lot of people like trading. We have an investment cell there. Vidhi is the president of the event society, and they always come up with an event every 1 week, trying to unwind us. Like we had something known as an IKBC. So they had an ISBF KBC, which was so much fun. So the creativity AECA wise is so big. You can think of an opportunity and it would already exist for you to take it forward. We have a career placement cell that, like, the career services division upskill students, but CPC also takes it on themselves to have workshops to train people. We have an entrepreneurship cell where people are given the opportunity to come up with business plans and pitch them to real industry, to people who are actually in the industry. So the opportunities here are endless, so to say.
Seems like Ankur's feed may have.
Frozen. Yes, sir. I thought nobody could hear me. I thought my net was lagging.
Ankur, are you there? Can you hear us? So, Vidhi, Vandita, if you guys want to go on to your ECA piece, perhaps, if there's anything else you'd like to add while we wait for Ankur to come back on.
Sure, sir. Vidhi, you can go ahead.
I think it's time you reveal Xenia also. I think that's one thing that you and I both can relate on majorly right now, and it's something that would probably excite them quite a bit. So I think it's time we reveal that.
So like in it, like we spoke about how people need to come together, and when they come together, plan and execute. One of the biggest things that we plan and execute together is Xenia, which is our college's annual inter-college festival, and this time we're having it online. And be it through Xenia, be it through an MUN, or be it through any societies, we have more than 15 societies. One of the most promising societies we've had this year is actually AWCA, which is a United Nations foundation, or like United Nations Foundations is the umbrella body which started a campaign called Girl Up, and ISBF has its own chapter called Girl Up Zia, where they try to spread awareness about inequalities that exist in the society. So the opportunities here are so much that in some way you'll sort of be inspired to go and learn something. For example, there are so many kids who don't actually understand the value of community service, and here nothing is imposed. You're giving it, you're given it on a platter, and you have to choose where do you want to go. And the learning opportunities from this are so much. For example, you learn how to manage Excel well. You learn how to document things well. You'll have to constantly send emails. And I mean, when you work, that's the biggest task that you have to do. When you sit at 9 a.m. on your desk and you open your laptop, you would have a plethora of emails that you need to reply to. And there's also an art to replying to emails. And through ECA, you learn so many things. So it's not just about continuing or finding your passion, but you also learn on the job things that you can continue to do for the rest of your life. So ECA here is for students, by students, and of students. All decisions are made by students here. And you know like ISBF safety net is that even if you fail, they will not tell you failed. They'll tell you that, oh, you learned something from this. Next time you are not going to be making these mistakes. And I think that's the biggest safety net that they can give us. Like, yeah, we're still there for you no matter what you do.
Okay, so I don't think so. There are any other questions left for me. If you have anything else to say, Vandita, Vidhi, or Chirag sir, please go ahead. Otherwise, we can just wrap up the session.
So Vandita, Vidhi, guys, go first. I'll go last.
If you want to share
Um,
any other thing, Vandita and Vidhi.
Sure, I think I'll just touch up on the educational bit that I had to after Chirag sir had mentioned it. So I'll just like to say one thing. As a student, when you enter a completely new environment of a college setting, right, you always want to know what's happening in my course, and how are my teachers like, or what is my future studies going to look like. So I want you to be very rest assured of that, because our teachers are very cooperative, especially in the online setting where you would hope that it'll be very monotonous and it's going to be very boring to be. No, it is not. We've been on, I think me and Vandita, we've got like two classes in common. We've been going about making projects, we've been going about presentations in class, we've been going about a lot of class discussions and everything. So that's what happens. Your learning is not you're reading from a book and you're writing in the exam. No, it involves quite a lot of you presenting, you researching, you having class discussions, debates, and so many other things that come up to form your actual learning of that subject. And personally, I'll tell you, the kind of projects, the kind of opportunities you get to make for a project, you won't believe. I've already made an application. I've done a whole research paper on how to come up with a startup application, which I submitted to the University of London, and I've got graded on that also. So the kind of opportunities that come about from studying with ISBF is really crazy, because you have so many other subjects that you can learn on, not restricting yourself to only maths and stats and just like basic business studies or something. No, you go way beyond to subjects like psychology, human resource management, and there's so much more. Accounting as well. I'm not too familiar with that, but I just give you a gist of that. And many of the things, sometimes you feel like you're not confident in class to ask a teacher a question, or you feel like you're lagging behind in terms of your education and studies, and you might not be coping up. So we have something called the PRTs, which is the peer review teaching. So in that, a student, maybe it's always usually a senior student who takes up the subject, who's done it earlier, and they teach you. So you have classes on your own, so you're attending your classes and with your teachers as well, and you have your PRT tutors as well. I am also a PRT tutor, so is Vandita. And so we take our classes and we sit down with students who would who have problems with subjects. So that's a very more friendly environment where you could very openly talk about your problems with the subject. You could very go about your questions, you could go about the syllabus. So there's a lot of freedom, and we try to cover every single aspect of whatever you'd want to see in a college life, and to make sure that college life is very flexible for all of you. So that's it from my end, Vandita.
Um, I just want to like say one sentence is that the best part about ISBF is that there is no imposition. The journey is like they lay the foundation for where you're supposed to go, and then it's on you how you take it forward. Any opportunity that you want, they will carve it out for you. What you do with it is up to you. Which I like everybody is treated as somebody of equal stature. For example, in school, you could probably be made to feel that okay, you're a student, but here when you go up and talk to any faculty member or anybody from the staff or management, you're treated an adult, you're treated as their equivalent and not as a student, which I think is the best thing when you're treated as an equal. And the respect that is given to every student, every opinions are valued here so much. And it's not that opinions are here are heard and then just let go of. People will come back to you with feedback on it and a whole report that you gave this opinion, we worked on it, this is our solution, this is we've started on it, this is where we are, which I think no other institute would honestly do. So yeah.
Well, that's all of that is lovely to hear, Vandita, Vidhi. Uh,
Yes.
Thanks for those perspectives. And I just want to end by saying I would agree with Vandita, because we've been working hard at this ethos for a long time. Uh, Asking questions is something I miss saying during my piece about the teaching learning environment in every which one, which is why I'm genuinely so glad for so many questions today. Asking questions is the bedrock of learning at ISBF, and it's the opposite way of learning to rote learning. Um, I don't know if your school encourages this. I hope it does. But questions lie at the absolute heart of learning. If you don't ask why, then you're not going to be able to add new knowledge to the
What
world.
what I feel, if the student is not asking questions, so either they are bored or they are totally not interested.
Yeah.
What I feel, so while taking up my class as well, so what I do, I ask them to unmute their mic. So right now, like they are just chatting. So in
Yeah.
my sessions when I take my quant class, so I ask them to unmute yourself and ask as much as you can.
Yeah.
क्या पता कुछ ना कुछ मुझे भी सीखने को मिल जाए उन
Very
क्वेश्चन
true,
से.
very true. And in
Yes.
fact, to flip what you're saying, Ankur, the only thing you can be sure of if they're not asking questions is that they're not learning.
True.
So, so which is why today's session has been great. So a lot of what we do is geared at encouraging students to ask questions. In fact, we do a 2-month long series of activities with incoming students even before their first year starts, or for graduate diploma students, postgraduate students as well, just to induct them into the art of asking questions, the habit of asking questions rather. It's called the Power of Why series, as the name suggests. It's the power of asking questions. So there's a lot of emphasis on that, and that filters or that spills over into other aspects of college life as well. You're encouraged to ask questions as a core council president. You are encouraged to ask questions as a student, and we always try. I'm sure it's not perfect, but we try to never never treat any question less than another, right? Because you're just asking, and aside from that, so that's one thing I'd failed to mention, so I brought that up. But to kind of summarize, for the students out there, whether it's the LSE program or the Kingston University program, if you're looking at, the first thing you should ask yourselves is, am I looking for a global career? And fantastic, Harsh, thank you for that comment. If you are looking for a global career, uh, then then what is the best platform available? I strongly believe, and this is now my personal opinion, that there isn't any other undergraduate program in the country today that will give you as good a base for an international career, work or study. I mean, we'll all end up working after we study, however much we study anyway. So if you want an international career, this is a serious option that you should look at, in my honest opinion. And even if you're looking at a career in India, um, it is a very, very strong option. Many students have, all of the stories I told you about Delhi School of Economics, IIM, IGNOU, IIM, ISI, ISB, ISI, etc. That's all without IGNOU. That's just based on the equivalence we have with these institutions. But if you add IGNOU to your portfolio, then government competitive exams and absolutely any career in India, you have an LSE education which will give you the substance to deal with whatever the world throws at you, and you have a piece of paper that takes care of any eligibility requirements in the country. So but you have to be prepared to work hard. So you can either go through an undergrad which is Bollywood like, and then the real world will teach you stuff, because that Bollywood undergrad will not prepare you for the real world. It will just be fun, and when you land up in the workplace, you realize that you don't really have too many skills, and you learn them on the job, but you'll grow slowly because you're learning the skills on the job. Or you can truly start developing a skill set, which will mean a little less Bollywood style fun, but still a lot of growth oriented fun and opportunities and activities. But you will find that you add a lot of value at the workplace when you step into the workplace. And I'm not saying this out of my own theory. I'm saying this based on the feedback that we have got from recruiters. This feedback is quoted along with the names of the recruiters on our website, so it is authentic feedback from them. We've heard that our undergraduate students have added more value than Delhi School of Economics MA Economics graduates. They're supposed to be the best economics masters graduates in the country, and our undergrads are adding more value than them consistently year after year over a 6-7 year long association. So that is very heartening to hear, and that is because this program, as I said, trains you to solve real world problems. And I think that is the fundamental beauty of it. Everything else is geared towards that. If we want to solve real world problems, we can't talk down to your questions. In the real world, if your boss talks down to your question, sooner or later he'll get fired. So he's not a good boss, right? And so it develops life skills. A good international undergraduate program develops life skills. It rewards you for the right attributes. It does not reward you for rote learning. It does not reward you for procrastinating with your work. It rewards you for studying consistently in small doses. It rewards you for understanding what you're doing. These are the skills that you will grow because of in the real world. So, but anyway, that's our 2 cents, guys. Hopefully you found that useful and enjoyed this session. Thank you so much for hosting us, Ankur.
Sir, I'm very much honored to have you today over here, and a lot of students have asked these questions, and it's really amazing to see them to ask these many questions. They don't ask me in my class though. So that's pretty amazing, sir. Thank you for sparing time, and thank you, Vidhi and Vandita, for taking out
Thank you
some
for
time from your
having us.
curriculum
Thank
and
you,
enlightening
sir.
our
Thank
students
you
about
so
the
much.
college campus and life. So thank you all. So the rest, if you have
Very
any queries, I have put in my contact number. You guys can contact me on Telegram to get to Vandita, Vidhi, and if you have any queries for Chirag sir, I'll answer all of your queries. Just you can see the comment. I am putting my Telegram number over there. You can just connect back to me, and I'll reach to the authorities. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for
Thank you,
joining.
Thank you
everyone.
so
Thanks,
much for
students.
having
Thanks,
us.
Vidhi, Vandita.
Thank you so much. Thank you.